And so, beloved masters, here we are gathered this evening for the new moon in Libra. This is actually an aspect of great power. Libra is considered a sign of balance, harmony, peacefulness. It is Venus ruled, and therefore it is about love, relationships, and even the relationships with all people, not just the intimate relationship of partnership between two adults, but the relationship with family, with children, with people that you meet all over the planet. For those of you that are in business, Libra even is an aspect to look at if you are looking at your chart. How do I relate to the public? So, as we mentioned that this month, October of 2025, and November and December of this year are going to be very rife with power struggles. There is going to be a rising up of a greater desire for power, but it is everyone is called to find within themselves their own power. How powerful are you? How sweet are you with that power? So, this is a great part of what this particular ritual is calling you to discover within yourself. How powerful am I? And remember, this new moon is in Libra. So it isn't about how powerful am I? It's about how powerful am I? Because your power was granted by love that is unconditional. So the Venus aspect, which is also in Libra for this new moon, Libra in its own sign, or Venus in its own sign of Libra, is a most comforting, gentle, and yet enthusiastically optimistic aspect. So, who am I and how powerful am I? Feel it. There is a grand square that involves this new moon in Libra. It involves Jupiter at 24 degrees of Cancer. It involves Saturn at 26 degrees of Capricorn. And yes, Pluto is at 1 degree of Aquarius, just 1 degree away from the sign of Capricorn. So we call this a cardinal grand square. And the cardinal signs are leadership. They're about power. And therefore, the emphasis of this new moon, inner work. The new moon is always about inner work. The new moon is where you can really go within yourself and quietly ask, who am I? And find out who you are gently, gently, in love, careful, patient with yourself. The fact that Venus is in Libra is really an indicator that things are really changing. They're becoming different, so different than they have been before. And it is that as you are willing to feel deeply within yourself and find peace within you, find peace deep inside of you. For it's there, it's in your soul center, it's in your solar plexus, but it's not something you can think about and discover it. So when we say feel it, we don't mean emotional responses or I hope I know what I'm doing or well, where is it? But allow your energy, your essence, to just flow down into the solar plexus. And yes, it is a challenge for as you allow your energy to come to center, you may begin to meet many resistances. For literally the next 3 months of this year, and perhaps the first 2 or 3 until the spring equinox, next year may be also filled with defensiveness, with defiance, with a determination to resist. So when you allow your energy to flow to center and be with that energy, don't try to think of something. Don't try to make anything happen. Don't try to imagine something. Just feel the energy flowing to center. Beautiful, powerful, full of amazing wisdom and credibility, full of the energetic potential to turn your life in a new direction. And as you start now today, as you start, it isn't going to happen like that. It isn't going to occur because you said, I am looking to feel myself. Anything that you will create, dearly beloved, amazing, divine, creative masters, anything that you will create takes time. And a lot really does depend on how willing you are to trust your ability to not only create, but to manifest. Ask and you shall receive. And this Venetian energy is about the sweet understanding of receptivity. It's also an aspect that can sweeten the belly. For Venetian energy is very connected to what are you feeding yourself? Not only the food that you put in your mouth, but the thoughts and ideas that you are spending your time with. Because I will make this comparison. Junk food thoughts can give you indigestion just as much as fast food can. So be mindful of what you are focusing on when you begin to seek to connect to yourself. This grand square in cardinal signs is so big about owning and claiming your own capabilities. And it is not, dearly beloved masters, I am going to keep emphasizing again and again, this is Libra energy. This is Venetian energy. This is about loving, cooperation, coming together, communication. Be able to say what you feel from the place within you where you feel your heart is open. For these are not the times to speak of war. It is spoken about in enough places, but for each one of you, it is time for you to really consider, am I willing to let go of the battle you fought through lifetimes? And it is time to find a whole new way of moving forward. There is a grand trine in the water signs of Cancer, Jupiter, trining both Mars and Mercury that are very tightly conjunct in the sign of Scorpio. And the planet Saturn in Pisces. powerful emotions, powerful water, floods, tsunamis, tidal waves, rising of the level of the ocean as there is a continuation of the melting of the polar caps. And so, time to really consider you in your life, time to consider that it isn't about emotional reaction that will heal anything that's going on the planet. If emotional reaction would really help things, then you wouldn't be witnessing what is going on all over the earth. This is a time to gently, lovingly, peacefully, Libra, find a true understanding deep within yourself that what is going on this planet is not political issues and it is not religious issues. It's personal issues. It isn't what side are you on, because the necessity to move away from the divisiveness that humanity has lived under for eons of time. And this is the time moving into play. The next 6 months will be a turning point, a great change. It isn't that it is just beginning now. That necessity for change has been going on for hundreds of years. But timing is everything. And this, by the aspects in the heavens, this is the time for things to go in a completely new direction. You're changing, and the planet you live on is changing. It's a time to focus on allowing yourself to just be open to discovering, who am I? It's a time for new beginnings. It's not so much about having things actually manifest as it is to allow things to continue to disintegrate, let the past be done. So change is a huge word now. Power is a really big word now. And yes, you will encounter power struggles everywhere. But the more that you go within yourself and get peacefully aligned, feeling into things that, and a lot of people use the word, it triggers me. That was a trigger point or a trigger subject, or what they said or did tripped my trigger. And so to really be mindful, pay attention, because clarity is vitally important now. Being clear with yourself. Pay attention to just what does set you off, what makes you want to rise up in defense, what makes you want to say, I have a right to do this, because the truth is, you do have a right to do whatever you please. And certainly the grand trine in water will not only be triggering rain and oceans rising and water events all over the earth, but it's going to be triggering tears. And many of you may find yourself in a deluge of tears. You may have said, oh, I can't cry because if I ever start crying, I'll never stop. And then the emotions bring you to that point of tears, and you don't feel like you can stop. But instead of fighting it, go deeper, deeper into yourself. Allow spirit to take you beyond the emotional reactivation, which is actually much closer to the surface. And the deeper that spirit takes you, the higher your perspective becomes, so that you have an overview of the conditions and situations that are setting you off, making you angry, triggering fear. For most highly emotional and volatile reactions are truly based on fear. It may feel like hurt feelings, and certainly humanity is wounded. People are wounded. And as things are rising to the surface, a lot of those wounds are coming to the top. They're coming to a place where you can actually recognize or remember why this particular situation has made me so angry or sad. And the knowledge is very helpful. But as you go deeper, you encounter the wisdom, that depth of wisdom, the well of wisdom in your solar plexus that can help you to understand, even experience. Dearly beloved masters, when you gain this overview that spirit can give you, it gives you a much broader perspective. When you're standing in the midst of a crowd, it's difficult to get a perspective of what's happening. But this spiritual overview not only allows you to understand yourself much better, much more clearly, much more compassionately, but it also assists you to experience in a compassionately objective way what others are experiencing, why they would be reactive, an understanding that I am now more clear than ever why I feel what I'm experiencing, but also the broader scope of I am experiencing in a much clearer way than I've known for thousands of years. What other people are experiencing and why they are responding the way they do. And in that spiritually inspired overview, you may actually feel in your solar plexus, in your heart, almost as though something shifts. A switch was flipped, not triggered, but just it triggered change, not reaction. And when it's change that is put in motion, you actually can be much clearer of how to respond in challenging situations that your logical mind says, I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. And with that spiritual overview, you realize nothing because you can't change them. So doing something very often just pushes the situation into a greater conflict. But in that evolutionary overview, as you experience changes so deep within yourself that if you have not been able to recognize the feeling of connection to your heart and your soul, you will begin to respond to the changes as emotions become much more a spiritual response. So the ideas of becoming more powerful began to happen because you began to realize, to understand deep within yourself, you really don't become more powerful through war. In fact, dearly beloved masters, we would highly recommend that each And every one of you began to pay attention to your vocabulary and began to remove the words of war and replace them with words of creativity, peaceful evolution. And so start with the word fight and begin to forgive the fight out of your life. And the logical mind is wringing its hands in desperation, but you got to fight. And the honest truth, the bottom line that is being revealed by what's going on in the heavens is you never had to fight. That was an inspiration of the logical mind that has thought every way it possibly can to control the human race. So you, dearly beloved, amazing, divine, creative masters, are now opening more than ever, more than you can remember in the eons of time it's been since you actually knew yourself. Take the time. I don't have time. You've got all the time there isn't. For time, in many ways, is another one of the illusions that the logical mind has turned into a weapon. Much of humanity has made time their enemy, which ensures that you get to fight because you're at war with time, if nothing else. But as you integrate into your own power, it isn't generated by rage and anger. Your power is generated by peace, by self-awareness in the most positive and powerful ways. Don't just say, who am I? And then say, well, I know the answer to that. Take a quiet time and be with yourself. Maybe in a bath or a shower or on the beach or with your feet in the water of a stream or a river. Water is an excellent medium for getting in touch with who you are. Who am I? And I can assure you that the answers about who you are not things. They're not really physical. I know you've got a physical body, and many of you believe that that's who you are, is that physical form. But the truth of it is, and what the planets are really beginning to reveal for you, is that this is the garment you made the choice to wear for this journey. You reached into your imagination, your creative ability, and with your soul's guidance, you created a physical form. This physical form is generated and empowered, bottom line, by divine love. But it also possesses the records of all the lives you've lived. So the planetary shifts in this time, beloved masters, may find you reviewing memories, remembering things not only from this life, but from others. If it doesn't seem to fit in anything you remember about this life, it more than likely isn't from this life. People get worried about their memory. Well, I can't remember anything. It's all in there. But remember, emotional reaction dams the flow of clear connection. Emotional reaction dams the flow of clear connection. So when you are indulging yourself in emotional reactivation, then, dearly beloved masters, you are going to experience the blockages that the logical mind is seeking to put up. It doesn't want you to remember your power. And yet, in these times, there is a very good, even I would say a likely possibility that you may begin to remember lifetimes when you were powerful both ways. When you were a tyrant, when you were a dictator, when you were a ruler, when you were totally in control, or the lifetimes when your magic made you miraculous, but you had nothing to prove about it because you were so lovingly integrated into the truth of yourself. And so, dearly beloved masters, Pluto at this particular new moon is sitting in a semi-square. Now, a square is 90 degrees, so a semi-square would be the halfway point, 45 degrees. Pluto at 1 degree of Aries, or rather Aquarius, is semi-square to the north node at 15 degrees of Pisces. The north node is, where am I going? It's a moon's node. It, in its energy, defines where you personally are going to be going. If you were born with your North Node in Pisces, then this would be especially interesting. If you were born with your South Node in Virgo, it still could be very interesting. And for those that have the North Node in Virgo and the South Node in Pisces, it's still very influential in this time. And the North Node is a point that describes, Pisces, what you came to learn this time. The South Node talks about experiences you've had in the past. And it talks about you can choose to live by those standards again and again and again. But the North Node is opening up the way to know, to learn, to experience, to even master your own life by change, by becoming more. Pluto is in trine to the planet Uranus. And both of these two planets, Pluto and Uranus, are revealers. Pluto is a co-ruler with Mars of the sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio is the sign of secrets. So Mars and Mercury are sitting in the sign of Scorpio at this new moon. And secrets are not only being revealed, they are being pried loose, drug out. People are digging in to get the secrets. And those that are attempting to hide their secrets may be feeling progressively more and more vulnerable because with the planetary configurations of Pluto and Uranus, and the fact that Saturn and Neptune sit conjunct. Saturn, yes, at 26 degrees of Pisces. Neptune is poised. And on the 28th of this month, it will move to that exact point of 00 Aries and then retrograde immediately back into the sign of Pisces itself. Revelation. And if you choose to go to your copy of the King James Version, because this is the most standard, there are many, many, many interpretations of what the Bible is about that have come forth in these modern times. But most of them were about some personal interpretation of a modern day individual, when the ancient mysteries of what we call the Master Book have been written out. But you still carry your knowledge or wisdom of those truths in yourself. And there are many that are still attempting to hide them. In fact, there are those right now today who are creating their own version of the Bible They are writing out the history of races. There have been groups of people that have, you might say, disappeared from the history books because some ruler, some leader didn't want their wisdom or their courage or their capabilities to be evident. It crossed purposes with the ruler's ideas. And so to simply write them out. They didn't have anything to say. They weren't important people. They don't need to be remembered. And right now, there are those on the planet who want to write out where humanity has gotten to this time and go back to a time when things were not nearly as stable or as good or as positive as the world had become. But in you, you personally, you carry the ability to let your secrets come to the fore, to allow your secrets to be revealed, to get so clear, so connected, so confident that it doesn't matter if other people know who you are. And we keep referring to the two big words of this time: authenticity, as Pluto and Uranus and Jupiter, and even the Mars-Mercury conjunction in Scorpio are about truth. They are about clarity. They are about the revelation of how things truly are, rather than I won't look any deeper because I've found the way I want life to be. But the process of living is about change. The process of life is moving forward. So if you want to stop things right now and have them be that way forever, then you're moving on a dead-end path. Because life does continue to change. And the changes that are happening in the heavens now are calling every individual to be honest, to be clear, to be, the other word, transparent. If you are transparent, it means you don't mind being seen deeply. You don't mind people knowing what's going on in the depth of you. And the more comfortable you become with transparency and authenticity for yourself personally, not believing everyone else should be, but really putting your focus on becoming real and clear with yourself, not in a cruel, critical, judgmental way. You've lived in the pain and suffering of that. In fact, that's why a lot of you have hidden so much. The world has become, not necessarily everywhere, but in the outer presentation at least, the world has become bitterly brutal. Meanness is celebrated. It's as though to be cruel is the in thing. Say the harshest meanness, most self-deprecating, because remember, masters, when you're saying cruel things to others, you're actually talking to yourself also. So if you don't like how your words would feel if they were being said to you, remember you're saying them and you, where three of your fingers are pointing. So the healing, the allowing yourself to go deep into your inner space. The square, a grand cross in cardinal signs, calls you, yes, to be the master that you are, to live your mastery, not in a superior way, but in the cool, calm, clear, loving center of your being. When you really accept your mastery, there's nothing to say about it. People that are on the defensive about their mastery, people that need to tell you constantly that they are masters, aren't comfortable yet. Because as you discover, integrate, live, move forward in the recognition of your mastery, it's nothing different from the everyday things. It's who you are. It's a big deal, but it's so lovingly, powerfully rooted in the soil of your spirit that there's no necessity to say a word about it. It doesn't mean don't talk about it. It means if you mention it, if it should come up in conversation, you're comfortable with it. It isn't the denial that logic is taught. Oh, that's nothing. I'm not anything. It's such a deep, powerful, well-rooted, and in these times with this grand trine and water, well-watered with Spirit's water, well-fed by deep understanding that you're comfortable with being a divine creative master. comfortable. It just is who you are. You don't have to keep drawing attention to it in case they forgot. It's about you remembering to the very depths of your being, I am what God created. I am. So this new moon, inner work, inner understanding, self-discovery, self-evaluation, letting go of scrutiny and judgment and cruel assessment, and being kind and gentle and tender with yourself. But they're supposed to be that way with me. They're going through the same things you are. Yes, it would be absolutely marvelous, probably miraculous, if everyone began to really live who they were truly created to be. It would be a much kinder, gentler, and yet brighter and much more effervescent world that isn't laboring under the shadow of tyranny. But you are where the tyranny stops. Inside of you is where the tyranny stops, where cruel self-evaluation, being mean-spirited in your assessment of yourself, then being caustic to others because if I'm going to suffer, they should suffer also. Indifference, avoidance, looking the other way would all begin to just fade into the annals of time. And the power that is being triggered by this new moon, and beloved masters, we cannot emphasize to you enough that whether it's a new moon or a full moon, it isn't a one-time, one-day event. The logical mind says, oh, well, that new moon's gone. But that new moon imprinted each one of you. And right now, the imprint is truth, honesty, integrity. That's what's being revealed, revelation. Are you true to yourself? Are you willing to know thyself? Honestly, willing, not with walls up, as though you're not sure you really want to meet you, but going to the open door, the unconditional love of your heart. Feel it. And so, dearly beloved masters, this new moon is bringing to the whole of humanity opportunities to really make movement about who you are. Now, yes, there's going to be a continuation of the attempt to dominate. Those that are involved in dictatorship and tyranny all over the planet are going to make what you might call the last ditch effort, because those ways of being that have been a part of living on this planet for time out of time, no one can remember when it wasn't. Those ways are complete. The planets are moving in their orbits differently. The configurations that are occurring now, many of them haven't been seen before. Those who go back and research for thousands of years cannot find planetary configurations as they are today. They can find the configurations happened, but not all at the same time. So you are here, you are truly here because you are beacons to bring new light to the planet as the old darkness passes. Your beacon is the light within you. So it's time to make sure your light shines bright and beautiful, that you can acknowledge, yes, with awe and wonder, who you really are, rather than with smug satisfaction, but with the absolute awe of what you find yourself creating in these times, of the absolute awe of the changes that you are experiencing in this time, of the absolute awe that you can feel the essence of God in you, that God is no longer out there somewhere. But the more you allow yourself to belong, the more you feel God in every aspect of your being. I am that I am. So, dearly beloved masters, these are important times. And yes, this is a lengthy discussion. But, dearly beloved masters, I cannot tell you how miraculous you are in 2 or 3 words. And perhaps you will forgive I for waxing eloquent about what I see, what I feel, what I find in you unconditionally. And so, beloved masters, as you love yourself, take down the walls one brick at a time. You don't want the wall to fall on you. Pull down the veils. If you're going to be transparent, you don't need curtains. Love yourself real. Love yourself really. And forgive being embarrassed or ashamed of being true to yourself. That doesn't mean you're truer to yourself than you are to others. It means the more you understand being true to yourself, the truer you can be to the whole. And everyone I'm speaking to, everyone that will hear this, everyone that is touched by the words, and it is our prayer that you will be deeply touched by the words of love. May everyone be willing to share with others because you're all one. Good news. Share it. Don't just keep it to yourself. Love it and live it. And so celebrate this new moon. Feel it in yourself. Feel it in the truth of who you are. In love.